The narrative surrounding Bletchley Park, BP, the clandestine, heavily guarded headquarters of the Government Code and Cipher School, GCCS, situated discreetly 50 miles north of the relentless bombing of London, is often predominantly dominated by the singular genius of brilliant male mathematicians and cryptographers like Alan Turing. However, to truly grasp the scale and success of the Allied code-breaking effort during World War II, one must confront the profound, often overlooked reality that the operation was overwhelmingly a female endeavor. By the culmination of the conflict, an astonishing figure of approximately 75 of Bletchley Park's total 10,000 personnel were women. These dedicated, highly skilled women performed a staggering range of tasks, spanning from the relentless, high-volume clerical processing of raw intercepts to the highly complex, demanding, and meticulous operation of the world's very first programmable electronic computer, Colossus. Their continuous, largely unheralded efforts successfully transformed raw, obscure enemy radio traffic into ultra-intelligence classified information that provided the Allied commanders with such precise and timely strategic insights that historians now conservatively estimate it shortened the war by a massive 2 to 4 years, saving countless lives and billions in resources. The method employed for the recruitment of personnel for Bletchley Park was purposefully unorthodox, deeply secretive, and highly targeted, designed to locate individuals with very specific intellectual aptitudes, while entirely bypassing conventional military or government hiring procedures. Recognizing that intelligence and analytical prowess were not confined to gender, women were actively sought out and often directly recruited from their specialized university studies. Recruiters prioritized candidates reading intellectually rigorous, non-traditional wartime subjects such as mathematics, advanced physics, modern European languages, and classics disciplines recognized for their ability to sharpen logical reasoning, structural analysis, and precise linguistic interpretation, skills absolutely crucial for effective cryptography. In one of the most famous and ingenious recruiting strategies of the war, the notoriously difficult daily cryptic crossword puzzle in the Daily Telegraph was used as a covert mechanism to identify highly select candidates who possessed exceptional, innate logical reasoning and pattern-finding abilities. The women who ultimately reported for duty at Bletchley Park originated from a remarkably diverse spectrum of social and economic backgrounds, reflecting the all-hands-on-deck nature of the war effort. A substantial majority of the female staff served within the various uniformed women's auxiliary services, providing crucial military discipline, structure, and most importantly, a ready cover of military anonymity for their highly classified work. These included a large number serving in the Uniformed Women's Royal Naval Service, WRNS, colloquially known as the Wrens, as well as personnel from the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, WAAF, and the Auxiliary Territorial Service, ATS. The operational environment they entered was characterized by relentless intensity. Staff were required to work in 3 punishing, rotating 8-hour shifts, maintaining operations continuously 7 days a week, often within the notoriously cold, cramped, and temporary wooden structures known simply as huts. Strict operational silence and unwavering total focus were absolute mandates, perpetually driven by the ever-present, terrifying knowledge that any minor lapse in concentration, any missed shift change, or any small error in calculation could result in a critical intelligence failure, ultimately costing thousands of Allied lives on the front lines. The initial and most prominent code-breaking target at Bletchley Park was the formidable Enigma, the German military's general-purpose cipher machine used widely across the Wehrmacht, Luftwaffe, and the Kriegsmarine. The complex, initial process of breaking the daily Enigma settings was executed primarily by the electromechanical bomb machine, a groundbreaking device initially designed by Alan Turing and significantly refined by Gordon Welchman. The women of Bletchley Park were the undisputed primary operational users of these complex machines, which were housed in specialized, secure areas, most famously Hut 11. Their critical and repetitive task was to meticulously set up the complex wiring boards of the machines based on probabilistic cryptographic assumptions, known as cribs, and then tirelessly monitor the results, listening intensely for the distinctive electromechanical clunk, a stop, that signaled the machine had found a potential solution to the daily key. This particular work demanded incredible, sustained patience, absolute technical precision, and the unique, highly valuable ability to maintain performance under immense, unrelenting operational pressure. However, the team at Bletchley Park faced an even more formidable and structurally complex cipher challenge beyond the capabilities of the bomb: the German High Command's highly secretive teleprinter cipher machine. This machine, known to the Germans as the Lorenz SC4042 and codenamed by the British cryptographers as Tunny, was used exclusively for ultra-secure communications between Adolf Hitler and his most senior field marshals and top generals. Tunny was a significantly more complex, high-security 12-wheel machine that was not a bomb-suitable rotor machine, but rather operated based on the sophisticated principles of the Vernam cipher. The sheer, overwhelming volume and the profound complexity of the Tunny messages meant that they were completely unsuitable for manual or electromechanical processing by the bombs. This insurmountable strategic and technical necessity served as the definitive, urgent driving force behind the most ambitious electronic engineering project of the war, the conceptual design and physical development of the world's first large-scale electronic computer, Colossus. The intellectual genesis and mathematical foundation for the development of Colossus began with the staggering work of mathematician Bill Tutt, who achieved the almost impossible feat of figuring out the complete internal logical structure of the Tunny machine and the patterns of its complex wheels entirely without ever once seeing the physical machine itself, a feat of pure cryptanalysis. However, the crucial engineering realization, the creation of a physical machine capable of reading, processing, and statistically analyzing the immense volume of encrypted teleprinter messages at the necessary speed, was the monumental work of Tommy Flowers, a brilliant post office research engineer. Colossus was specifically designed and meticulously built to electronically exploit the inherent weaknesses that Tutte had theoretically uncovered, performing extremely rapid electronic, logic-based calculations to test possible key settings against the vast, continuous stream of encrypted data, a process that would have been impossible manually. The revolutionary Colossus Mark Wrens, which became operational and available for use in December 1943, and its much more powerful successor, the Colossus Mark II, operational just in time for D-Day in June 1944, were not merely advanced calculating machines. They were genuine, foundational programmable electronic computers. These behemoths used an unprecedented number of electronic components, specifically over 1,500, and later an astonishing 2,400, dedicated vacuum tubes. Colossus was engineered to process a continuous, high-speed stream of perforated paper tape containing the intercepted German teleprinter data, achieving a phenomenal processing speed of 5,000 characters per second, a speed that stood completely unrivaled anywhere in the world at the time. The entire machine was designed around the principle of electronic logic gates, marking the first major victory of electronic circuits over slow, failure-prone electromechanical relays in computing. Crucially, the vast majority of the core operational users and the day-to-day supervisors of the revolutionary Colossus machines were systematically drawn exclusively from the ranks of the Wrens, Women's Royal Naval Service. These young women were subjected to meticulous and rigorous training by Tommy Flowers' expert engineering team to successfully operate and maintain the complex, heat-generating, and often notoriously temperamental electronic machine. Their highly technical duties included the precision mounting and delicate threading of the fragile paper tapes onto the high-speed optical reader, the physical changing of the hundreds of patch panel cables to effectively alter the machine's program or logical sequence, known as setting up a job, and, most critically, the skilled interpretation of the complex statistical printouts generated by the machine's analysis to guide the subsequent logical stage of the continuing attack on the demanding tunny cipher. The human-computer interaction required by the Colossus operators was vastly more intricate and involved than anything seen in modern computing. The Wrens were directly responsible for managing the constant, ever-present risk of vacuum tube failure, a common, time-consuming occurrence in early electronic machines. They quickly evolved into highly specialized electronic diagnosticians, learning to rapidly identify which specific panel or section of the massive, sprawling machine had failed based on sound, lights, or error codes, often repairing the faults themselves. Furthermore, the Wrens were responsible for performing a crucial manual precursor step to the Colossus's electronic run, the statistical run, or pre-processing. They would interpret the results of initial tests, which were complex counts of character coincidences, to manually refine and input the key wheel settings, effectively feeding the refined, human-guided instructions back into the Colossus, maximizing the efficiency of its purely electronic calculations. The work dedicated to breaking the high-level tunny cipher was structurally divided and housed primarily in two distinct high-security sections: Numenry, led by Max Newman, focused on machine operation, and Testery, led by Ralph Tester, focused on final decryption. The women assigned to the Numenry were specifically and uniquely responsible for the skilled operation of the Colossus machines to find the initial, complex 12-wheel key settings, which involved determining the starting positions of the CHI and PSI wheels. Once the vital key setting was successfully discovered and verified by Colossus, the incomplete message was immediately passed onward to the testery. There, another highly skilled team of Wrens manually refined the remaining partial settings and patiently worked on the difficult final decryption process, often involving significant, time-consuming work by hand before the message was translated and officially passed on to military intelligence channels as Ultra. The introduction of the high-speed Colossus computer in early 1944 provided the Allies with a decisive, overwhelming technological advantage that fundamentally altered the strategic balance of the war. Before its operational arrival, the process of manually breaking a single, complex tunny message could take weeks or even agonizing months of relentless effort by dozens of cryptographers. With the electronic speed of Colossus, the process of finding the complex key settings was drastically reduced to a matter of mere hours, and sometimes, astonishingly, only minutes. This speed was strategically vital for the imminent D-Day landings. Colossus provided General Eisenhower's command with continuous real-time intelligence concerning German defensive deployments, critical troop movements, and, most crucially, Hitler's high-level, fatal misreactions to the feigned invasion threats, intelligence which was absolutely indispensable to the operation's successful establishment of the beachhead. The work performed by every single person at Bletchley Park, and particularly the Colossus operators, was carried out under the shadow of the single strictest and most encompassing secrecy regimes in recorded history. The women who operated Colossus were not merely discouraged from discussing their work, they were absolutely forbidden, under threat of treason, from breathing a word of it to anyone. Not their husbands, not their closest family members, not their lifelong friends, and often not even to personnel working in an adjacent hut at Bletchley Park. They were explicitly and relentlessly instructed that even the casual acknowledgement of the existence of a fast machine or electronic code breaking could compromise national security. This profound enforced silence lasted tragically for well over 30 years after the conclusion of the war, leading directly to the systematic dismantling and complete destruction of the Colossus machines by 1960 and the widespread historical erasure of their immense contribution. The Wrens who served as the primary operators of Colossus were not professionally credentialed engineers, PhD holders, or lifelong cryptographers. They were typically young women. Many were still in their late teens or early 20s, often possessing only a high school education or a basic university background in non-technical arts or humanities. Their profound, rapid success in mastering the highly complex electronic machinery underscored the fundamental, transferable role of innate, high-level operational aptitude, disciplined technical training, and exceptional human diligence in the nascent field of electronic computing. They stand historically as the world's first true electronic computer operators, proving empirically and definitively the possibility of relying on large-scale electronic calculation for rapid, complex military and strategic decision-making. The unique confluence of immense wartime pressure, the rigorous operational demands of the machine, and the crushing weight of mandatory secrecy led to extraordinary and often physically challenging living and working conditions. The women endured bitterly freezing winters within the hastily constructed temporary wooden huts, toiled through long, exhausting, and disorienting night shifts under constant intellectual strain, and often subsisted on rudimentary, poor-quality food supplies. Socially, the environment was utterly unique, a vast intellectual concentration camp where every person was bound and defined by a shared, secret, highly important purpose. Despite the crushing pressure and the absolute isolation of their secret, the women successfully forged an incredibly strong and resilient community, relying intensely on shared camaraderie, shift-based friendships, and dark humor to cope with the immense stress of possessing highly sensitive, world-changing information that they could never, under any circumstances, share with the outside world. The specific cognitive skills that women brought into Bletchley Park proved absolutely crucial in the necessary and rapid transition from older manual pencil and paper cryptographic methods to the revolutionary methods of mechanized and electronic computing. Their often superior mathematical or linguistic backgrounds made them uniquely adept at rapidly understanding the statistical, probabilistic nature of the new cipher attacks that defined the bomb and Colossus's logic. Furthermore, their precision and patience, often honed from prior clerical, typing, or bookkeeping roles, made them ideal candidates for the repetitive, yet detail-critical, high-volume tasks that the early electronic and electromechanical machines demanded, ensuring high fidelity in the initial data processing. The invaluable technical lessons learned from the intensive, continuous, and high-stakes operation and maintenance of the Colossus computer were instrumental in shaping the subsequent landscape of post-war computing research and development. Tommy Flowers and his specialized engineering team, drawing heavily on direct operational feedback from the Wrens regarding machine reliability, vacuum tube failure rates, and efficient operational workflow, directly influenced the design and architecture of early, foundational British commercial and university computers, notably the Mosaic and the pioneering Pilot Ace machine. The experience of Colossus successfully helped to rapidly transition the principles of electronic logic and high-speed calculation from a highly classified wartime necessity into the bedrock for both civilian and academic research across the United Globe. The role of the linguists at Bletchley Park, who were also predominantly highly educated women, comprised the final, non-negotiable, and absolutely crucial stage of the entire intelligence pipeline: translation and interpretation. Once a message was successfully decrypted from the raw German ciphertext into clear German language, a process called deciphering, these linguists had to rapidly and accurately translate the complex, nuanced military terminology, technical jargon, and subtle political language into clear, actionable, and precise English intelligence reports suitable for Allied commanders. This interpretive, humanistic work added the necessary, invaluable context and tactical relevance to the raw, dry data that was mechanically provided by the Colossus and the other machines. The immense, sustained efforts of the women of Bletchley Park during the desperate, protracted Battle of the Atlantic were particularly devastating to the German U-boat submarine campaign and vital to Britain's survival. By successfully and continuously reading the highly secure U-boat communications encrypted by the four-rotor Naval Enigma machine, a massive cryptographic jump. The dedicated Wrens provided Allied convoys with continuous, updated, and highly accurate information on the precise locations of the feared wolf packs. This vital intelligence enabled Allied merchant ships to successfully navigate around the U-boat groups, drastically reducing the catastrophic losses of vital food, material, and fuel supplies that were essential for the entire war effort. The profound, enduring, and total secrecy that was the non-negotiable condition of their wartime service regrettably led to a massive, systemic erasure of their historical contribution from the public record. Many of these highly talented women returned quietly to civilian life, often becoming dedicated housewives, teachers, or clerical workers, remaining sworn to secrecy and never speaking of the enormous intellectual and technical achievements they had successfully accomplished. Their pivotal contributions were not officially acknowledged or declassified until the mid-1990s, tragically robbing an entire subsequent generation of women pursuing careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM fields, of powerful, real-life, historical role models, and denying the women who served the public recognition and high honor they had more than rightfully earned. The actual operation of the Colossus was far from simple button-pushing. It was a highly sophisticated, high-speed dance between the electronic machine and the human operator. The Wrens were responsible for the machine's complex initial programming setup, which involved creating the logical patch panel connections that dictated the logical pathways for the statistical comparison of the German cipher stream against the thousands of possible key wheel patterns. This demanding job required an operational grasp of Boolean logic, electrical circuit paths, and statistical inference, unequivocally demonstrating their status as the world's first true operational female computer programmers and expert machine operators. The Colossus Mark II remains a pinnacle of wartime engineering and strategic deployment. It was completed under extreme secrecy and pressure, just in time for the critical D-Day landings, and immediately provided General Dwight D. Eisenhower with continuous real-time updates on German troop movements, logistical responses, and most crucially, confirmed Hitler's fatal strategic belief that the massive invasion at Normandy was merely a diversion or feint. This incredibly precise, decisive strategic intelligence, made possible by the speed of Colossus and the diligence of its Wrens, saved countless Allied lives, drastically minimized resistance, and ensured the successful, rapid establishment of the crucial beachhead. The systematic and brutal destruction of the Colossus machines at the conclusion of the war, personally ordered by Winston Churchill to protect the highly sensitive, state-of-the-art electronic code-breaking methods from falling into the hands of the emerging Cold War adversaries, meant that their entire existence remained a closely guarded, complete secret for decades. The Wrens remained sworn to their oath of silence, and all critical blueprints, components, and operational manuals were destroyed or rendered useless. This extraordinary, devastating act of extreme national security ensured that the immense, vital contribution of the dedicated women who operated them was completely and utterly lost to the public historical record for decades, only to be recovered piece by painful piece by later historians and veterans. The entire Bletchley Park operation, built around the intelligence pipeline from Intercept to Ultra, was a massive, successful organizational triumph, showcasing the unprecedented ability to coordinate complex, multi-stage technological, linguistic, and intellectual processes under continuous pressure. The women were the absolutely essential operational link in this chain, standing between the high-level mathematical theory, driven by Turing and Tutor, and the practical, actionable intelligence required by the commanders, acting as the operational, maintenance, and processing core of the entire intelligence system. The late but growing public recognition of the immense legacy of the women of Bletchley Park, particularly the pioneering Colossus operators, now serves as a powerful, necessary, and inspiring symbol of gender equity in the vital STEM fields. Their unheralded expert work proved beyond any doubt that aptitude in complex technology, rigorous logic, and advanced systems analysis has no inherent gender boundary, providing a crucial, undeniable historical counter-narrative to the long male-dominated history of early electronic computing and encouraging greater female participation in these fields today. Ultimately, the true, comprehensive, and fully told story of Bletchley Park is the story of the unseen majority. While men formulated the initial theoretical and mathematical attacks on the ciphers, the vast, continuous, labor-intensive, precise, and constant work of operating and managing the electromechanical bombs, conducting the complex analysis of the tunny cipher, and, most technologically advanced of all, running the revolutionary Colossus electronic computers, was performed by thousands upon thousands of highly trained, dedicated women. Their collective success was a towering testament to the power of disciplined human skill, when flawlessly combined with unprecedented technological innovation, standing today as one of the greatest, most profound, and yet most secret intelligence feats of the entire 20th century.